right, guys, so we are going to take another look at election day today. So we've been working with text structures, and in third grade, what do we say?
We only have 3 and they all start with C.
And who can list those off real quick to me? What are our 3 text structures that start with C? Antoine, give me one.
Compare and contrast.
Compare and contrast. JCL. Cause and effect. And our last one, Allie?
Chronological.
Chronological. Okay? Now, we use a tool or a strategy to help us identify those text structures. What can be a helpful tool to help us identify text structures? We can look for the what? Amaris? Signal words. Okay? So today we're working with text structure again. We read and annotated this on a previous lesson, and now we're going to really look at this text and analyze the text structure of this text. Okay? So let's look at our CBC board behind me. Our benchmark is R2.1 to explain how text features contribute to meaning. Identify the text structures of chronology, comparison, and cause and effect. So in today's lesson, check, we've got half the benchmark. We are going to identify the text structure, and we're also going to do the other part of that benchmark where we're going to then use a text feature to help us organize our text structure. So once we start reading and really pulling out the key details, I think you guys are going to see what text structure we're working with. So I'm going to do the first section, and then you'll work with a partner to analyze the second section of our text to see what text structure we're working with. Now I want to remind you, text can have more than one text structure. So we can have the overall text structure, and then we can have individual paragraphs that are their own text structure. Also, if we see a signal word, does it always signal a text structure? No. You have to look for that relationship or that connection to see what that text structure is. Okay? So remember, in our last text, our text structure was cause and effect, and we knew it was cause and effect because it told us what? What does cause and effect tell us? What connection? Sawyer?
What happens and why?
What happens and why? Compare and contrast. We'll know it's compare and contrast because what connections will we see with compare and contrast? Christian? Say it again. 2 or more things, how they are or different or alike. There you go. Good job. And then with chronological, we're looking for what kind of connection between those events. What kind of connection are we looking for in a chronological text? Aubrey? Dates can be a signal word, but dates are telling us the what of the events. Chronological is telling us the what. Hannah? The order. There we go. Okay? So keep that in mind as I'm reading, because we want to see how these details connect to each other to make a text structure. Okay, so let's analyze it to understand what relationship we're seeing. Fighting to vote. Voting is a right that people have had to fight for in U.S. history. Only men aged 21 or older who owned land could vote in the first presidential election, 1788. All right, so we do have a date here signaling when an event is happening. In most states, only white citizens could vote. So we have a signal word for 1788. What event is happening in 1788? What's the event that's happening in 1788? What's that event? Melanie?
Only men
So we have a very important key detail that matches this signal word. If the event that's happening is only men age 21 or older who own land could vote. There's also another key detail. What else about these men did they have to be? Becky? Louder? Someone help her out? Yes, it was only for Americans, but there's another important key detail that these men had to be landowners, and they also had to be what? Yumna? White. We also, does that sound fair to you?
No.
So white men who owned land. So if you were not white, you could not vote. If you were not a woman, you could, if you were a woman, you could not vote. If you were poor, you could not vote, because not everyone owned land. So let's see if we had a signal word for 1788 is a date, so it's a signal word for what text structure? Class?
Chronological.
Let's see if we still continue with that kind of text structure. After the Civil War. Okay, now we don't have a date, so we know that the Civil War comes after 1788, and that this next event will be after the Civil War. All African Americans were free, but most still were not allowed to vote. Lawmakers worked to make sure they got that right. In 1870, the 15th Amendment to the Constitution was passed. Do we have an order of events going on in paragraph 4? Yes or no? Well, okay, I heard someone say no. So how do we know we have an order of events? How do we know we have an order of events in this paragraph? Sawyer?
Because it says after and then there's a different date.
Okay, we have after the Civil War, and then we have another date. Okay, so what events are happening after the Civil War? What event is happening after the Civil War? Zariah?
After all African Americans were free.
Okay, so we no longer have slavery. But that signals a problem. That's signaling a problem, but what still was the case? What event was still happening after the Civil War? Jemima?
They still did not get to vote.
African Americans still could not vote. Then we have another signal word. In 1870, what event happened? In 1870, we have an event. What event is happening in 1870? Anna?
The 15th amendment to the Constitution was passed.
Okay, and so what does that mean? Our 15th Amendment did what? Our 15th Amendment did what? Antoine?
They fought for African Americans to vote.
Yes, our 15th Amendment gave the right to African Americans to vote. So are we tracking some events here? Do we have an order of events going on?
Yes.
Okay, let's read our next paragraph and then we'll put it all together. Yet some states, that signals a problem. Yet some states passed other laws to keep African Americans from voting. Okay, we don't have a signal word for time, but we do have an event, and our event is that they still can't vote. People fought these laws. In 1944, Thurgood Marshall won a case in the Supreme Court. African Americans could now vote in some elections in places that had stopped them. This victory led to measures that helped protect people's voting rights. What relationship? Now this is not, this is a signal word. It's telling us a relationship for what? What's it a signal word for? Sophia?
Cause and effect.
Yeah, it's telling us what happened and why. So what happened was now they could now
Protect people.
Right. And what caused them to be able to protect that voting right?
The victory.
Who got that victory for us?
Third Marshall.
All right, so we have some more events that are happening. So let's look at our annotations. In this paragraph, in paragraph 5, our first event that's happening is that they still can't vote. But then in
1944.
they won the right
To vote.
to vote. Okay, and they could no longer stop people from voting. So the Supreme Court went all the way to the Supreme Court to help protect those voting rights. Let's put it all together. We pulled out these events with our signal words. What is this giving me the order of? Who are we talking about? And it's telling me the order of what? What is it telling me the order of? Asha? Say it again? Yes, so what were the events? It is an order of events. And that matches what text structure? Order of events matches what text structure, class?
Chronological.
So this is giving me the chronological order of what? Look at all those events and see how they're connected. Each one is talking about what? This happened, then this happened, then this happened. It's the order of what events? Think about it. Really look at those events and signal words that we pulled out. Every time there was a signal word, it signaled an event. And when we put all those events together, it tells us what, Aubrey? It's giving us the order of what?
African Americans were allowed to vote.
So African Americans not being allowed to vote, and by the end, what happened? It's showing us the order of then how they got the right to vote. Good job. So paragraphs 3 through 5 is the chronological text structure of how African Americans fought for the right to vote. We started with only white landowners, and then by 1944, we got African Americans finally had their rights protected. Now, you want to hear something crazy?
Yes.
When you look at these events, you can really, even though they don't give it to us, sometimes we have to do a little bit of math. 1788, only white landowners. 1870, finally, African Americans get to vote. Little bit of math, it took 82 years.
What?
It took 82 years until African American, that's how long people were fighting for the right to vote. That shows you how important it is to have a say and a right in our government.
That's how long they was in slavery for?
No, not how long there was slavery, because look, what event happened before 1870?
They were free. Civil War.
They were free after the Civil War. So even after they got their freedom, though, they still didn't have the right to vote. And then even after 1870, what still was happening?
They
still can't vote because some states were being real disrespectful and not giving them the right to vote, trying to block them and prevent them. So then we have 1944, which was another 74 years from the 15th Amendment. So we're talking about like 150 years.
What?
African Americans were trying to get the right to vote. you ready to find out about paragraph 6 and 7 and tell me what text structure we have for this?
Yes.
All right, so now you're going to do what I just did, what we just did together. You're going to look at paragraph 6 and 7 with your partner. You're going to look for those events and tell me what text structure is it signaling. Okay? So I want to really hear how you know, because then we're going to come back and you're going to tell me. All right? We are a level 1, level 2 whisper. Make sure that to be respectful so that other people can hear their partner. And we're only talking about reading. So I should only hear anything about voting. Okay? All right. You may discuss with your partner. What events are happening in paragraph 6 and 7? And then I want to know, what text structure did you discover? What did you say? The what?
The order of women and young adults.
How do you know it's that order? What did you see to understand that it's that order?
Because of the first final.
So that's how you know it's important. Good job. So you're going to answer it by discussing it with your partner. So you guys are answering what are those events by pulling them out and talking with each other. Okay? So what events are happening? You tell me what events are happening. So we're talking about women now. Okay, so those events. What text structure is going with those events? What's the connection? Is it telling me what happened and why? Is it telling me the order of women in getting the right to vote? Or is it comparing and contrasting them? The order, how do you know? Well, I don't, is 1971 still about women? So what's going on, what's the order? Okay, so that's just for women. So then what's 1971 signaling? What event is that? Young adult. All right, how are we doing? Are we finding the connection between your events?
Yes.
All right, fist to 5, how much more time do you need? Okay, I see some 2, 5s. Okay, we're gonna go with 2.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
How are you guys doing?
Well, I'm writing.
So what text structure did you find?
I saw their text structure. What text structure?
Because remember, you're going to pull those events to see the relationship between them. Are those events telling me what happened and why for cause and effect text structure? Is it telling me the order, the chronological, or is it telling me about how events are different and alike? So you're seeing what's the relationship between those events to understand that text structure. Alright, I'm coming in to check with my group who I saw needed 5. Hop in. Alright, so I saw you guys said you needed 5. So we having a hard time? Okay, what is it? So what events, what's happening in the text? What events are you pulling out? Okay, so what was signaling that event? Do you have any signal words? Okay, so what signal words are you seeing? At first, okay, what signal words did you find? Then, mid-1800s, finally. Okay, so those are all signal words for what? What text structure are they signaling? All those signal words you just told me go with what text structure? What text structure? These signal words you all told me go with what text structure? So look, 1800s, finally, then. You got your journal too.
How do you spell thought?
I got Melani and Zariah have identified signal words, but they're not sure about the text structure. So they were checking our anchor chart back here, but don't forget, you've got your journal that lists all of those signal words in there. Use your journal. Your journal is a tool and a resource. So if you are seeing some signal words and you're like, I'm not sure what text structure that goes with, you can use your journal. So when you're looking at your cause and effect journal and your signal words, do you see dates? No. So what text structure goes with dates? What text structure goes with dates? Yep. What text structure goes with dates?
I just want to write.
What does that say? So what text structure you have? All right, we are going to bring it in 3, 2, 1. All right, I heard some really good discussions going on. So let's look at paragraph 6 and 7, and I want to hear about the connection you made between these events. Okay? So, what events did you pull from paragraph 6? What events did you pull from paragraph 6? Kinsley?
Women were not allowed to vote at first.
Okay. So, women were not allowed to vote at first. Were there any other events? Grayson? Was that the only thing that happened in paragraph 6? So give me another event from paragraph 6. What else happened in paragraph 6? Who worked with Grayson? Afnan? Afnan, what other events did you find in paragraph 6? order. So now we have at first, they cannot vote. Mid-1800s, they're fighting for the right to vote. Do we have another event that happens? Yumna? How did you know they get the right to vote? So says, you tell me what it says. It said that, so how did you know when they got the right to vote? What did you have? How did you know when they got the right to vote? She says she sees the signal word finally. Is there another signal word for when they got the right to vote? Zariah? 1920. So I see here you guys found some signal words. What do these signal words, what are they signaling? What connection are they signaling? What connection are they signaling? Kira? There's a chronological order of what? A chronological order of what? Amaris? Of what though? Dates and times of what? What's happening? It's telling me the order of what? Of the order of women getting the right to vote. Okay, and paragraph 7. What text structure did we have? In paragraph 7, what text structure did we have? JCL? So you just told me an event. What text structure did we have? So that paragraph 7, what was the text structure? Jason?
Chronological.
How did you know?
Because it said longer than 18 to 20 did not get to vote until 1971.
Okay, so we went from women fighting for the right to vote, and now the young adults and the events that led them to, what event led them to the right to vote? How did they get the right to vote? What was the event that led to them getting the right to vote? What was the event that led them to get the right to vote? Major, I haven't heard from you. Major, what was the event that led them to get the right to vote?
At that time, many young Americans were fighting in a war. They said, if we are old enough to fight and die for this country, then we should have...
Good job. So they were fighting in a war, and they said, if we're old enough to fight in a war, then we should have the right to vote. So, what would you say is the overall text structure of what I did and what we did together, and then what you did with your partner? Our text structure is what? What's our text structure? Allie? Chronological. And when we put all of these events together and connect them all together, it's all telling us what? It was all about the chronological order of what? Anna? Of how different groups of people get the right to vote. Yes. What were those different groups? Our first group was women, and then young adults. And when we look at these events, we can see that not everyone always had the right, and that different groups of people had to really fight for this right to vote. So now what you're going to do for your exit ticket is you're going to take all these events and put them into a timeline. And you're going to see how those events connect to each other and how we progress through time with the history of voting. Any questions? All right, let's do it.